What's up guys, my name is Jeremy with thewarriorsolution.com. In this video we're taking a look at 7 different battle belts currently available on the market. We're talking Core Essentials, Ferro Concepts, AXL, Blue Alpha, Ronin, Safe Life, and Tacticon. So if you are interested in a battle belt and you're currently on the market, you're definitely going to want to watch this video. If you're looking for information on a specific belt in the lineup, there are chapter markers in the description as well as in the timeline. So if you want info on just the Ronin Taskforce belt, for example, just find where that is on the timeline, click, and that whole section of the video will just be on the Taskforce. Same for all the other belts. So this video is sponsored by Core Essentials. I would not have been able to put this video together and include all the belts that I did without their support. So thank you very much, Core Essentials, for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get into the belts. The first belt we're going to talk about is going to be the Core Essentials Battle Belt. This belt has micro moly webbing sewn on the outside of the belt, as well as Velcro on the inside of the belt. That is going to interact with the Core Essentials inner belt, which is proprietary and obviously specifically designed to go with the outer belt. A couple of interesting things with that inner belt is the hexagon double layer of nylon, which is designed to create a very slim profile at the front of your waist, so that as you adjust the trackline system, all that extra fabric from the inner belt kind of bunches up and fills in voids and stuff, so it doesn't get any kind of weird hot spots or pinching or things like that. So if you're familiar with battle belts in general, or you've been wearing one for a number of years, or you're just curious, basically 99.9% of all battle belts currently on the market use a Cobra buckle. There is nothing inherently wrong with Cobra buckles. They're fantastic. They're super strong, very durable. They are very safe as far as they will never come undone unless you really want them undone. You have to physically push in 2 levers at the same time in order for the buckle to come undone. The problem though is with adjustability. Specifically after you get the belt on, tightened down and buckled to the point where it holds up all the junk that we tend to carry on our waists. If you are changing positions, getting in and out of vehicles, eating, doing a lot of running, jumping, moving around, and then doing a lot of standing around, everything from flat range work to operational work, maybe in and out of helicopters, in and out of buildings, how tight your belt is really important for comfort. So if you need to tighten it up because you're about to do something really cool in ninja, it would be really handy to be able to tighten your battle belt up maybe a 1/4 inch at a time. Something like that. Just saying. So the Core Battle Belt uses Core Essentials patented track line and buckle design to create a micro adjustable, very easy to use and very easy to adjust on the fly while you're wearing the belt buckle system, which is awesome. I love Core Essentials as a brand. I've pretty much been a Core fan for 10 years now, something like that. Their whole concept on their belts is that track line. Taking it to a battle belt and applying it to military operations specifically is just on a whole nother level. Because the market is so saturated with Cobra buckle belts, whether they're belts designed to go in your loops or 2-part battle belt systems that use inner belts and outer belts, basically all of them use that Cobra buckle. Core Essentials breaking into the market and saying, all right, what can we do differently? Still providing our, awesome adjustability, but also maintaining the same level of performance, quality, and strength that people need when it comes to battle belts. If you're carrying around, 4 or 5 pistol mags, a couple rifle mags, a med kit, a holster, whatever it is that you carry on your belt, obviously you need that thing to be very strong, but not to the point where it feels like you're bending an iron bar around your waist, because that would get very uncomfortable very quickly. So the construction of the Core Essentials Battle Belt is very similar to their other gun belts, the Garrison belt and their lower tier gun belts. They use their power core center in the outer belt as well as their inner belt. So you have 2 extremely strong power core centers and then a layer of nylon, another layer of something, I'm not sure what it is, and then the outer portions of the belt itself. So here's a cutaway of both the inner and outer belt, so you can kind of see what's going on. The white part that you see there is the Core Essentials Power Core, which is trademark, patented, you know, proprietary space magic. That equates to a very, very stiff and stable platform overall. It's a really nice package when you marry two of those very stiff belts together and then add the micro adjustability of that track line system to that mix. So with the Core inner belt not having any buckle whatsoever, it's only Velcro. You just tighten it to however you want it, stick the Velcro down, and there is no buckle whatsoever. That creates a really low profile platform for you to conceal carry with, like I'm doing now. So my thoughts on the Core Essentials Battle Belt after, you know, using it, running around, shooting, doing all kinds of interesting things with it, I really like it. And the adjustability of the belt, you know, having that track line system and the micro adjustable capabilities of the belt is something that you really don't know that you need until you don't have it anymore. So going between the Core belt and the other 6 belts in this video, I definitely noticed the lack of adjustability in those belts versus this belt. Now, are the other belts good belts? Yes, they are. They're awesome. All the belts in this video are really nice. If you're operational and you are looking for a top-of-the-line belt, and you're doing aircraft operations and you need a belt that you can clip into the aircraft, the Core Essentials belt is not for you. You're going to want to either look at the Ronin Taskforce belt or the Blue Force Gear chalk belt. Both of those are specifically designed and built for aircraft operations. None of the other belts in this video are specifically designed or intended for any kind of harness, rappelling, aircraft retention, or anything like that. The next belt we're going to talk about is the Ferro Concepts Bison belt. I really like this belt. It is very comfortable. It's super, super lightweight. I like the form factor of the Cobra buckle on this one. It's a lot smaller than some of the other belts we're looking at in this video. There is a D-ring for you to not use for aircraft retention. Ferro Concepts is very clear on this on their website. The D-ring is absolutely not for rappelling or aircraft safety operations. So as far as the belt itself, the construction of the Ferro Concepts Bison belt is primarily a strip of Tegris, which is a thermoplastic polyethylene super duper ninja polymer thing. Think like carbon fiber, but not carbon. Anyways, it is very stiff, very strong. I think I read somewhere that it's actually stronger than steel, like pound for pound, or, you know, dimensionally speaking. I may be wrong. So we have the layer of Tegris, and then inside between the sewn on Velcro, hook Velcro on the inside of the belt and the outer Tegris portion, there is a 1-inch tubular nylon band that goes all the way around the belt through the buckle and then back. So it is very strong. It's not really super stiff except for the Tegris part, which is nice because as you move around, the belt kind of moves with you. The Bison belt inner belt is pretty cool, actually. It's kind of unique in the lineup of inner belts that we're looking at in this video because it uses a G-hook as well as 2 spots where you can attach that G-hook and then the Velcro, obviously. One interesting thing to note about the Ferro Concepts Bison belt is that the inner belt is not quite as wide as the outer belt. So you may get a little bit of chafing from the hook Velcro depending on where you position the outer belt in relation to the inner belt, if you have a shirt between the belt and your skin, etc., etc. Just something to be aware of, that the inner belt is a little bit smaller than the outer belt. Adjustability for the Ferro Concepts belt is really nice, actually. The tubular nylon webbing that they used for the buckle is actually really soft and flexible and allows you to tighten the belt pretty easily when it's being worn, which is nice. And if you need to adjust it throughout the day, it's not a huge deal. It's doable, basically. All right, next up is going to be the AXL Eclipse Belt. This is sold separately from AXL's inner belt, which is called the Syzygy belt. AXL's naming system is basically astronomical terms. So we have Eclipse, Syzygy, Node, all that kind of stuff. So without the inner belt, this is going to be the second cheapest option on the list. It is basically almost 100% made out of Tegris, which is again that same material that the Ferro Concepts belt is primarily made out of. There are a couple of key differences between the AXL Eclipse and the Ferro Concepts Bison belt. The first one being mounting pouches on the Ferro Concepts belt is going to use the outer micro moly webbing sewn onto the Tegris itself, whereas the AXL belt is going to be weaving your moly webbing or your WTF straps, your malice clips, one wraps, whatever method you're going to use to attach your pouches to the belt is going to actually weave through the Tegris material itself. A second major difference between the AXL Eclipse and the Ferro Concepts Bison is that there is no additional interior strengthening via that 1-inch tubular nylon that Ferro Concepts uses. AXL is pretty much just a strip of Tegris material, and that's about it. That's not to say that this is a weaker belt than the Ferro Concepts belt, but scientifically speaking, I imagine that the Ferro belt is probably a lot stronger than the AXL belt, just based on the construction and having that additional, 1-inch tubular nylon built into the belt itself. I'm not really a scientist, so I can't really say one way or the other. What I can say for sure is that neither one of these are made for any kind of rappelling, retention, safety, harnessing, or anything like that. Another interesting thing with the AXL belt is the tail, or let's call it the running end of the belt, is quite a bit longer than what you think you might need. And the reason for that is that it actually interacts with the inner belt, goes behind the buckle, and then interacts with the other side of the buckle to basically fully support the buckle from behind, as well as provide 3 points of contact for the outer belt to be attached to the inner belt, in addition to obviously the Velcro that goes all the way around the entire belt. The AXL Eclipse belt, in my opinion, is the most complicated to put on and get fitted down to however tight you want it, positioning wise and things like that. Primarily because with that longer tail on the belt itself, it goes through a couple of loops behind the buckle and then separates the hook and loop Velcro from the inner and outer belts on your front left side. It's kind of tricky to get that all situated and tightened down and ready to go. So in terms of speed of deploying or donning the AXL belt, it is, in my opinion, the slowest of the 7 that we're looking at. That's not to say that it's a bad belt at all. One other thing that I did notice running this belt versus the others is the amount of hook Velcro on the outer belt is about half as wide as the other belts, because the Tegris material of the belt itself has laser cuts in it in order for you to, weave your pouches or moly straps, whatever. So they couldn't sew Velcro across the entire width, which kind of leaves you with half as much Velcro as the other belts on the list. So that's interesting. I did kind of feel like the belt was a little bit more wobbly than some of the other ones, primarily because in my opinion, again, the Velcro being a smaller strip didn't seem to hold quite as hard, but that's just kind of my experience. It kind of felt like the AXL belt was just a little bit more wobbly than the others. So sizing the AXL Eclipse belt, the left side of the buckle is permanently attached to the belt, and there is a little bit of play in the 1-inch nylon webbing that they used. The main adjustment is going to come from the right side. You can actually physically remove the anchor point of the right side and place it on any location on the belt that you'd like. In my case, for my waist size, it ends up being 3 moly slots in from the edge of the belt, which creates, again, quite a bit of extra tail length between the buckle and the end of the belt. All right, the next belt on the list is the Ronin Taskforce belt. This one is basically the tried and true current recipe for battle belts on the market across the board. We have 1000 denier nylon webbing as the primary material that the belt is made out of. The inner belt is also made with a 1000D nylon webbing, so the entire package as a whole is very, very stiff. There is basically no give whatsoever vertically, but there is some flexibility horizontally, which is obviously nice when you want to wrap it around your waist. The inner belt and the outer belt are similar in size. The inner belt is actually a little bit larger than the outer belt, so you can miss a little bit. There's a little bit of wiggle room on the interaction between the outer belt and the inner belt. If you just throw the outer belt on in a hurry, you don't have to be 100% accurate. In terms of the buckle, this particular model does have a D-ring integrated into the Cobra buckle. On Ronin's website, this does specifically say that it was designed with special operations in mind, specifically aircraft safety and retention. So the Ronin belt is one of the belts that is officially, specifically designed and intended, and I'm not sure if it's certified or not, but on the Ronin website, they do specifically say that you can use this belt for aircraft retention. So if you are a super ninja and you need an aircraft seat belt, this is an option for you. As far as sizing the Ronin Taskforce belt, it works basically like any other belt that uses a Cobra buckle. The left side, or the female side of the buckle, is permanently sewn onto the outer belt. So all of your adjustment is coming from the right side, or the male side. Because the nylon webbing is fairly stiff, it is a little bit of a chore to adjust it. You do have to undo the buckle, kind of wiggle things around, and then rebuckle it to dial in the specific sizing that you're looking for. There is not a whole lot of adjustability once you get the belt on. In terms of overall construction quality, the Ronin Taskforce belt is very well made. This is a belt that is actively being used by special operations right now, so obviously it's good to go on that front. It's not designed for rappelling or any kind of, dynamic falls or anything like that, but you can use it in aircraft operations if that is something that you have a need for. The Ronin Taskforce inner belt is about as simple as you can get. It is literally a piece of nylon with Velcro sewn on it, and that's it. There's no additional hooks, loops, buckles, or attaching mechanisms or anything at all. It is literally just nylon with Velcro on it. All right, the next belt on the list is the Blue Alpha Battle Belt. This is very similar to the Ronin belt, although I would put this one kind of more in the competition space versus the operational space. They both could be used either way for sure. The reason I say more competition is that this is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more of a lower profile design. The outer micro moly webbing on the Blue Alpha belt is a thinner and softer fabric than the Ronin belt. The inner belt of the Blue Alpha Battle Belt is basically just like the Ronin belt in that it is just nylon with Velcro sewn on it, and that's it. No additional buckles, special features, or anything like that. In terms of adjustability for the Blue Alpha belt, the left side of the buckle, or the female side, is permanently sewn onto the outer belt. So all of your adjustment is going to be from the right side of the buckle, or the male end. That is going to be secured by one wrap. And again, because this is relatively thick nylon, it's not super easy to dial in your exact size that you're looking for without actually undoing the buckle and kind of playing around with the straps, rebuckling, and then going from there. So in terms of adjustability while you're wearing the belt, it can be done, but it's definitely not going to be a quick process. It's going to be pretty much get it set up when you put the belt on and roll with it. So the next belt on the list is the Safe Life Battle Belt. This one is very similar in design and construction to Blue Alpha and Ronin. However, the Safe Life belt uses 2 layers of 1000D nylon webbing as the primary structural construction of the outer belt. So it has literally 100% more material than the Ronin and Blue Alpha belts. As a result of that, it is stiffer, so much so that in my opinion it's kind of a negative. Because there's so much material and it's so stiff overall, this belt feels very difficult to get on and tighten down to a comfortable position. Because it's so stiff, I can't really tighten the buckle down to where I personally would like it, mainly because it adds a lot of extra pressure on the sides of my hips versus, equally dispersing it around my entire waist. When I do get the belt tight, there is still a pretty significant gap between the belt buckle itself and my stomach, which I'm not a big fan of. Overall, you know, it's definitely very strong, I have no doubt about that. But in my opinion, it is a little bit too stiff and too unforgiving in terms of flexibility and adjustability. So given the choice between Ronin, Blue Alpha, and Safe Life, I personally would put this in third place. Ronin and Blue Alpha are kind of tied. The inner belt of the Safe Life battle belt is basically exactly the same as the Ronin and Blue Alpha belts. The adjustability of the Safe Life belt is exactly the same as the Ronin and Blue Alpha, again, where the left side of the buckle is permanently attached in position on the outer belt, and all of your adjustability is done with the right male end of the buckle. Again, because it uses such stiff and thick material for its construction, that 1000D nylon webbing, it is very, very stiff and not exactly an easy job to move the buckle around to adjust how tight or loose the belt is when you're wearing it. In terms of strength, I have no doubt that this is probably stronger than the Ronin and Blue Alpha. However, because it's so stiff, it's kind of a double-edged sword in that it's so stiff that it's actually kind of uncomfortable when I can actually get it tight enough to the point where it's comfortable, but also, you know, able to hold up all the junk that I carry on my belt. The last belt we're talking about in this video is the Tacticon battle belt. This one is in here specifically because it is significantly more affordable than any other belt on the list. The price tag for one of these belts is $29.95. The design of this belt is different than the others in the sense that it uses a padded inner belt that does not weave into your belt loops. So this is strictly an outside the waist, outside of your belt loops. Just put it on, click, and ready to go. So that's kind of a double-edged sword because obviously it's very fast to deploy, but because the inner belt is not woven into belt loops in order to keep it positioned on your waist at a specific point, it does have a tendency to kind of ride up and down depending on what you're doing and how you're moving around, unless you tighten it down quite a bit. So in terms of adjustability, the Tacticon belt can be adjusted on both sides of the buckle. There is Velcro and extra length. So really this belt could be almost a one size fits all. If you happen to order the wrong size, this will stretch or adjust to some pretty big waist sizes. Construction quality seems to be pretty good overall. There is double stitching, it's laser cut moly webbing. The buckle on the Tacticon is a Cobra style, but it is not a genuine Austrian Alpine Cobra buckle. It is a Chinese knockoff. It functions essentially the same, however, it has not undergone any testing, certifications, or any kind of, you know, long-term quality control or strength testing or anything like that. So the Tacticon belt is absolutely not for any kind of rappelling, aircraft retention, any kind of safety retention or anything like that. This is, again, the budget option. So if you are just strapped for cash, being $30 for the belt, Tacticon also offers all of the pouches and accessories you need for your entire battle belt setup. And you can essentially get an entire belt, pouches, dump pouch, and everything, minus the holster, for right about $100. So if you are just getting into battle belts, or you are maybe an airsofter or something like that, then the Tacticon is a good option for you. So that is going to do it for this video. Thank you very much again, Core Essentials, for sponsoring this video, providing all of the belts, and generally just allowing me to produce content. I really, really appreciate it. If you are interested in picking up any of the belts featured in this video, as well as any of the pouches, accessories, clothing, knives, everything that was in the video, they're all going to be linked in the description. The very first link will take you to my website, which is going to lead to the affiliates page where I've got all the various companies and affiliate brands that I am currently affiliated with. And that page is where you'll find all of the goods, so to speak. The droids that you're looking for, as it were. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.